Welcome to High Vibe Finds, the podcast. This is where I share my conscious take on pop culture and the human experience, plus a few intriguing stories that just might redefine your reality. My guest today is screenwriter extraordinaire, Eric Jeske. Welcome back, Eric.
Thank you. It's good to be back, and those were nice words. Extraordinaire, I'll take it.
Extraordinaire, man. I love your work. I've loved it from the first script that we read of yours, so...
Appreciate it.
Before we dive into today's stories, I have one cosmic question for you. Which statement rings more true to you? The most dangerous form of blindness is believing that your perspective is the only reality. Or, the world is a mirror, forever reflecting back to us that which we are within.
Mirror. That's exactly, yes. I try to do my best to see issues from both sides, which is sometimes hard to do when, you are a biased, a subjective person looking at things in your own reality. But yes, I do think the world reflects back what you put out. I'd go with number 2.
Now, the first quote is from Nietzsche, while the second one is from Neville Goddard. What I find interesting is that Nietzsche's quote is more about objective truth and the danger of ego. He believed that when we acknowledge other realities, we become more enlightened and less deluded. So I do like that as well, but I'm definitely more on the mirror side, because Neville Goddard believed that it's not enough just to think about what you want to achieve in life. You have to feel it first. You have to use emotionalization, not just visualization, because once you do that, your inner world becomes your reality.
I just think in the first one, it just seemed to me to be more of like you're looking at reality, which is all you can do through your own subjective lens, but not trying to be so close-minded that that's the only view that you can see.
Yeah, I think people do get siloed into one belief system. There are fascists in the history of the world who basically say that they read just to confirm their beliefs, which means that they're not open to other knowledge or input. And so that's where that blindness can come in. And that's certainly not a good thing. So I do agree with that statement as well. It's just a question of which one hits more. And I think more the optimist, and probably both of us, we would like to believe that we have some agency in creating our realities. And so that's why it's a mirror reflecting how we feel inside.
Yeah.
Most of the stories I'm going to share today are from Reddit. They include relationship advice, am I overreacting, am I the asshole, plus a bizarre one. The last story is our hot topic of the day, which is all about humans becoming more plastic.
We're gonna go boom. We're gonna go.
Am I the asshole for driving my own car to work? I, female 21, share an apartment with 2 people. I am the only one who owns a car. I sometimes let my roommates use my car to run errands. Recently, I've been letting one of my roommates take the car to work because her job is a good ways from the apartment, while me and my other roommate work within walking distance. This morning, when I got up for work, my roommate wasn't up yet. I knew she worked a closing shift, so I decided not to wake her and instead drive my car to the bakery I work at. About 15 minutes after I left, she woke up and immediately started throwing a fit, saying that I should have woken her up instead of taking the car and forcing her to come get it. She was apparently so angry, she took it out on our other roommate and all but forced her to call an Uber to go get the car, instead of walking the 11 minutes to my bakery. I'm not allowed to look at my phone while at work, so I didn't know any of this until my lunch break, when my other roommate told me. Am I the asshole for driving my own car to work?
Well, I don't know how you can be an asshole driving your own car in your own property to work. What you might be accused of is, if the system has been in place and is in place, is just being a little inconsiderate, I guess, to your roommates. But the whole situation sounds precarious, that you lend your car out to somebody to use, but then does it just become an expectation? I can take your car whenever I want. Now it's starting to become my car. Now resentments are building. So I think, there needs to be a discussion where they can freely talk about, what's going to happen moving forward with their car, their jobs, and how they're going to get there. I mean, maybe they need to discuss more prior, the night before or something like that, but it's your job. You have to go there. She wasn't up. I don't think you're the asshole for using your own property.
Well, here are my thoughts on this one.
Yeah.
When you give from a place of abundance and your friend responds with entitlement, they're showing you that they don't see your friendship as a give and take, but instead just a take. I mean, it's all about extraction, not exchange. And that's not a healthy dynamic to establish up front. Because she kind of set this dynamic, and by the way, it wasn't that long, as I read to you. I think it's only, a month or two that this has been happening. Once you set that in motion, then people start just feeling entitled to what you have. OP's reaction is justified to be shocked by all this, really. I mean, I think that she should tell her roommate that she's realized that lending her car out has created some unexpected tension. And in order to keep their friendship healthy, she's going to stop lending it out for a while just to keep the peace. I actually can relate to this story. I had something similar to this. When I first moved out to LA, shortly after I did, a couple of my friends were calling me all the time and asking me, hey, what's it like out there? Should I consider moving? And I admit, I kind of sold it to a couple of friends. I was like, hey, it's great. I mean, if you don't want to shovel snow, you're going to love this place. And, because we're younger, everybody's like thinking about the possibilities and showbiz and everything. So I got a couple of people to come out here. And one of those was my then best friend. And one of the things he made me do was promise him that if he came out, I would agree to lend him my car from time to time to run errands, to do like one or two things outside of that. I guess like he said, what if I meet a girl and I want to take her on a date? I'm like, hey, that's okay. I'm sure we can work it out. But once he came out here and I gave him that opportunity, he just started like keeping it way longer than he said and driving pretty far distances and not even really filling it up with gas. So I really took that as an insult. I felt like, wow, you took advantage of me here. So what did I do? Because of course I'm younger and immature. I start doing the whole, I can't lend it to you today because I have to do this. I have to this school errand, this work errand, this or that. And so I pretty much withdrew it and was very passive aggressive about it, to the point where he got really mad at me and was just like, dude, you agreed that you would lend me your car. And that is true. I did agree. And consequently, it did create a rift between us. And I really didn't know how to handle it. I mean, I eventually just said, listen, I can drive you here, I can drive you there. But, it's just rough because once you have given somebody that freedom, in a sense, it's hard to just take it back from them.
I mean, LA too. I mean, if you're coming out to LA, you need a car.
Yeah.
And so, yes, I mean, maybe I'll let you borrow it here and there for the first, couple of months, but you need to get a car or you're going to have to learn the bus system. They have public transpo. I'm sure they have public transpo where OP is coming from. When you're talking about entitlement and just feeling entitled to something, just because I guess you got used to it. But I mean, yeah, in your situation, you were being very kind in letting them use your car. But yes, eventually you have to get your own stuff and make your own way. You can't rely on everybody, especially in a town like Los Angeles. You're going to have to find your own way. You're going to have to get your own car. You're going to have to figure out your own jobs. Not everybody's going to be able to accommodate everybody's schedule here and there. So it's, it's on you.
Totally agree. Let me read you a comment because this is something that we haven't even considered yet. If someone regularly uses your car, they have to be on your insurance policy as an authorized driver, and you have to pay extra for that. If she is at fault in an accident, you will have to pay the other person's damages because insurance will deny the claim. It's not just her entitlement and tantrum, it's the expense and extra mileage on your car. So, I mean, that's another thing like that. I do think that they give you a discount, if I'm not mistaken, if you're a married couple. I think that insurance lowers your rate a little bit. But if you're just adding a roommate or a friend onto the car, I think they raise the rate because they're like, who is this person to you? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't know exactly how the insurance laws or whatever work, but I mean, like you can lend your car to somebody and your friend could get in an accident and your car should be covered. But I would think that like you wouldn't have to necessarily put somebody on your policy. If you do, and if you did, then yes, that's another perk this roommate is getting or your friend is getting. If you're going to take somebody's help, if you're going to ask a favor of somebody, but then you're going to repay that favor back with an empty gas tank, food wrappers all over the floor. I mean, then I don't know. Like you said, the friendship doesn't seem to be going both ways.
You triggered a thought, which is if they're not even going to put enough gas back into the car, then if they did get into an accident, they would just walk away from it because they'd be like, oh, I can't pay for any damages. I couldn't even put gas in the car, obviously. If you're in the insurance game, leave us a comment letting me know, do you need to add somebody to your policy and how much more is it? Because we're just reading comments that are left here on the story. We don't know if they're true, But one last thing I'll say is that, OP shouldn't just wait for the roommate to agree with her on anything here. Because if she is an entitled person, entitled people rarely have an aha moment about their behavior, especially when they're losing access to something like a car. So OP, your peace of mind is not dependent on your roommate realizing that she was wrong in this situation. You just have to let that go. You just have to say your piece and let the chips fall where they may. Because I think the more you concede and kind of like give into a demand like this, like let's just say she says, I'm sorry. I should not have driven my own car to work and made you walk 11 minutes. That's going to be a whole different story. I always say this to friends. I say, when there's certain moments that seem like ultimatums, when someone says to you, like where a big moment happens, you say, you have to do this for me. Otherwise, we can't be friends. If you give into that moment, then forever that person has something on you. I've seen it too many times, especially in like early relationships where friends of mine, the girlfriend laid down a very specific statement. And one of them I can think of one example where she's just like, we're not going to keep dating anymore unless you propose to me in the next 2 months. And he's just like, whoa, like I wasn't even thinking about that yet. We're still getting to know each other, but now he's having to like be forced to think about it. And the moment he went out and bought exactly what she wanted, which put him into debt at the time, she's always going to have him. And that's unfortunately the case in that relationship where anytime they get into a disagreement, she's just louder, she's more dramatic, and she just will not back down until he eventually does.
Most times you give somebody an ultimatum, and just the fact that you're getting an ultimatum from somebody makes you just go the other way. Back to the OP and the question, and even in your instance too, I would guess that just like you, when you were young, you were a little bit, immature and not as evolved in your way of thinking and your way of dealing with issues with your roommates or with your friends. I would think that they probably have that same thing going on, and that unfortunately these are the life lessons, these are the learnings that we receive, and hopefully they can take these forward and then deal with it in more of an evolved way, I guess.
Well said. Am I the asshole for asking a woman and her kids to get off their phones while at the movies? While I was at a movie last night, I was distracted by a family 2 rows in front of me. A mom, a teen son, a teen daughter, and a 7-year-old daughter. The first issue was the son was constantly getting up and moving seats. The second issue was the mom was on her phone most of the movie, at several points even filming the movie. The mom and her son were taking turns using their phones and then passing one of the phones to the 7-year-old who was playing games. It was super distracting, so I went up and asked the mom and her kids to get off their phones. She said she's not doing anything wrong. I said it's a movie theater. Y'all aren't supposed to be on your phones. The mom said you can ask nicer. I said, or you can be a better example to your kids and actually parent them properly. A couple minutes later, I was about to go talk to an employee because they were still all on their phones, but the mom suddenly stormed out. A minute later, her kids got up and left too. The teen daughter said, "Hope you're happy. You should be ashamed of yourself talking to a grown woman like that." The son called me a punk-ass bitch, took my collector popcorn bucket from the movie, and started to run off. Am I the asshole?
Not at all. Not at all. I mean, come on. We know who's in the wrong here. If the movie hasn't started, you can talk. You can be on your phone. As soon as that movie starts, though, we all know. The lights go down. We all know. Where I think the smidge he might have drifted into was then commenting on her parental style. That had, I don't know if that had anything to do with the situation that was going on, which I see is just plain rudeness. We're humans, so we automatically jump to the defense. I mean, as soon as you're called out, you're probably embarrassed because, yes, you got caught doing something you weren't supposed to be doing, something rude. Your children are climbing all over the place. This is not a playground. This is a movie theater. And this is where it gets tricky, is in our interactions with our fellow man and your fellow humans, that we want to be able to say something, but we don't want it to turn into a big confrontation. We don't want to have to get a fist fight in the middle of a movie theater. And I shouldn't even have to tell you that you were supposed to be quiet. Going to get somebody works in the theater or an usher or something to take care of it, that could have been another way to go. I don't have any problem, if somebody's talking, just like trying to be, you're trying to be as polite as you can, but also the politeness is should be on the other side as well. So yes, you are never the asshole if someone is interrupting the movie or just behaving in a way that we know is not acceptable in certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, the movie theater is supposed to be a shared, sacred space for storytelling and art. Having that immersion broken by other people being on their phones and hopping seats totally kills the vibe. I don't know if it's maybe just a little less bad than someone talking on the phone in the theater. That's the ultimate egregious thing.
Yes.
Mom, I'm in the theater. Can I call you later? All right, fine. Tell me all about that. Maybe OP could have been a little kinder and more tactful. That's for sure. But I admire his courage for speaking up, because that if he's not the only one in the theater and there are other people, I'm assuming, they're all thinking the same thing. Mm-hmm. And most people are just too shy. They don't want to confront somebody, whether it is just an ask or it is sort of what he said, which is a little more of a attitude. It takes a little gusto to confront people in public. But if he would have approached this from a place of protecting the shared experience rather than insulting the mom about her parenting, things probably would have gone more smoothly. Like you said, I think people immediately default into defensiveness when someone comes up to them. Hey, what are you doing? There's a way you could have said it, I think. And by the way, nobody should grab your popcorn bucket and run off. That's a whole other level, right?
Well, yes, there seems to be other issues at hand with whether he is correct in her parenting style or not. I don't think he should have said it or has a right to say it. He has no idea what they're going through or what's happening on their side either. They couldn't just not be on their phones and then sit and watch the movie at that point. I mean, I don't know. It's on them.
I mean, no. Hi there. I'm finding the light from your phone a bit distracting. I think other people are as well. Would you mind putting it away so we can all get lost in the movie? With a calm, sweet tone. Now if the mom turns around and says, who the hell are you to tell me that? Now you're like, oh, what?
That's the problem. I think that some people, you could put as much sugar on it as you want, and they're going to come back with the sass. You're more important than anyone else in this theater. It's like your, main character syndrome or whatever you want to call it, where it's like you don't have any consideration for anyone else in your space, that you're the only one here. So
no, that's interesting, because that can be a good or a bad thing. Like, we all should be considering ourselves the main character in our life, because it is our story and it evolves, and we only have our perspective. We do the best we can through empathy to imagine what another person must feel like. And that's, I think, what makes us able to relate to people, makes us a good person, to kind of see what are they going through? How can I emotionally sympathize and empathize with them? But at the end of the day, we only really know how we interface with the world. So it can be a good thing to have a main character energy. It's like a confidence, the way you move into the world. Mm-hmm. However, if you, going back to that first quote I talked about, if you just see it as, I'm the only person that matters and everyone else is just a NPC, right? They're just out there nobody has any real soul. I'm the only soul. I'm the only one that matters. That's the problem. So on that note, let's play a little high vibe, low vibe here. What is the most low vibe thing you could say?
Oh my, I mean, that low vibe. I mean, am I the asshole? Am I the one that's on the phone? Or should I turn my phone off perhaps? I mean, I'd probably go like really sarcastic on it. If I was going to go really low vibe, I mean, maybe you turn your flashlight light on and you just like shine it on them, shine a light on the bad behavior. Maybe you just like let everybody else see who it is. It's like, here they are. They think they're more important than everyone else.
Love it.
That would be the low vibe. And that would
Sure.
be, then there's assholes all around, I think. Probably best just to go get an usher. Now you're missing 5 minutes of the movie because you have to go. It's just unfortunate all around. I don't know what they were going through. See, I go back to high vibes. I want to like
good.
put myself
Yeah.
in their situation, like a mom with 2 unruly kids.
Yeah, just be kind. Be kind, be considerate.
It's the golden rule. It's not hard. There's one rule really that everybody should follow. Just one rule, and it's so important. It's golden, and that's to do unto others that you would have them do unto you. That's like so simple.
Yeah, we do get lost in our own worlds and we forget in moments. I've done the same thing. The last thing I was going to say about this is just immersion, how important it is when you're in a theater. It's so important that I once saw Titanic years ago in the theater, and just as the ship goes down and it finally goes underwater and Leonardo DiCaprio's character is being sucked under, the film snapped or something. And literally, like, it went, it was like, whoa, what just happened? And they came in, turned the lights on, and they took about 10, maybe 15 minutes to restore it. So they were saying, hey, we're going to fix this problem. You can either stay in your seat or walk in the hall, but we're going to fix it in 10 minutes. But to their credit, the first thing they did once you got out, they said, hey, we're sorry for the experience. Come get your refund.
Wow.
And they gave everybody a refund because it's like, yeah, you can get back into it. But when you're in the theater and you're, especially in that moment, the ship just went under. You're really invested in that. Suddenly it's like, okay, pause. Like, what?
Yeah, no, that was very nice of them. Hopefully that, they kept some customers that way. But like you're saying about immersion, it made me think of, I think there's a thing where our home theaters have become so good that we might forget that we are out in public in a movie theater because we're just used to being at home, going to get a drink or bathroom or, whatever it is. So there might be this bleed through of our home environments into the outside world and acting the same in both places.
My boyfriend has been texting with a woman, but refuses to tell me what their conversations are about. Am I overreacting? I'm 35 female. My boyfriend is 39 male. He has been texting another woman at random hours, and I don't know what the messages are about. I noticed heart and heart eyes emojis in the conversation. So I asked him the next day who she was and what the messages meant. He refused to explain. He later said it was a group text. So I asked him to show me the name of the group, but he wouldn't. What is bothering me most is his behavior. Every time he receives a message, he quickly swipes it away and pretends he is doing something else. If the messages were harmless, I do not understand why he is so defensive or why answering a simple question turns into an argument. The combination of hiding his phone and refusing to communicate has made it very hard for me to trust him. He keeps blaming me and says I am snooping or trying to control him, which I do not believe is true. I feel that his reactions have communicated more than his words. Am I overreacting?
Not at all. I think she knows exactly what's going on. And I think she's exactly right. If you're in a relationship and you're hiding things, especially texts, especially hearts and heart eyes, and you won't even, if it's a group text, then you can't show me or answer a question about it. Very fishy.
Let's talk about text etiquette, because I used to put heart emojis and winky faces in texts, years ago. And I didn't really know that it implied anything, but my then girlfriend, she used to get a little bit upset and accuse me of flirting. And I was like, really? I thought it was just like a way to say, oh yeah, I love that. Because you know me, I use the word love a lot. Like, oh, I love that. And whatever I would do, like smiley face was kind of the most go-to icon or emoji. I would use that all the time. But she said that girls would get the impression that I had feelings for them. And I was like really shocked by that. So I'm like, okay, let me like pull that back. But what's interesting to me is that my wife now will occasionally tell me to put a heart on a text. She's like, oh, hey, put a heart on this text. I think it's
to her or to somebody else?
Not to her. That I do on my own. But so it's somebody else, like a mutual friend. We have a female friend that we hang out with after meditations. So she'll be like,
there's that difference between the red heart and the pink heart, and there's different colors, and they're supposed to mean different things. But here's the thing, what I just got, what you were just saying, it's like when you had this girlfriend and it was like, oh, she saw you thing, you discussed it. She asked you and you answered. You didn't say, don't worry about it. It's none of your business. Like, I'm doing my own thing over here. Don't invade my privacy. But when you're not even sharing what it is, who it is, all hours of the night, I mean, that's a different story.
Oh, I totally agree with that. Now, I was just thinking this through. It's like, so first off, I believe that my wife feels more secure with our relationship, so she's okay with me putting a heart on a text. But then again, I've just thought about this. That is also true, but she is included in the text thread. So it's not like
she
she's
sees
telling me.
You're not hiding it.
Yeah, but it's not like she's saying, hey, go put a heart emoji, send an eggplant to that girl who told you look really good.
Yeah, don't do
today.
the eggplant. There's probably different etiquettes for different age groups that I might not be aware of.
I'm sure.
But yeah, 35 and 39, though, she's not overreacting at all. I mean,
you just triggered a thought about a phrase you used in your last script that I love. I think he's being a flirt goblin.
I mean, it seems like it, doesn't it?
Would you share your text thread with a significant other if she asked you to? Or do you think you can still talk to her, but that's really none of her business?
You should be able to have your privacy and your own, your own things. But yes, if your significant other is asking specifically, I mean, if you have nothing to hide, if you're not doing anything wrong, then why would it be a big issue?
I've been stealing from self-checkout for years, and no one suspects a thing. About 5 years ago, I realized how easy it was to miss scanning something at self-checkout. The first time, it was an accident. I genuinely forgot to scan a case of water on the bottom of my cart. Nothing happened. No alarm, no one came to talk to me. The next time wasn't an accident. I told myself it was just a big corporation and it didn't matter. I started small. A pack of batteries, a bottle of shampoo. I was careful. I'd scan most items and forget one. Never enough to look obvious. Over time, it became less about the money and more about the rush. Seeing the total lower than it should be. Walking past the receipt checker with a straight face. Acting normal. The wild part is that I can afford what I was stealing. I'm not struggling. I just justified it because I could. No one in my life would ever guess I did this. I look stable, honest, and responsible. I stopped doing it a few months ago because I finally realized that I didn't like who I was becoming. Someone who needed to get away with something just to feel a thrill. They'll never know. But I do. Is there a way I can make things right with the store or more importantly with myself without getting into serious trouble?
First it's like, stealing's wrong, stealing's bad. I get the whole thought and thread of mega corporations and how much we feel that we are being ripped off by either rising prices and the shrinking sizes of the products, paying more for less. And it's rough, but it is something that everybody is going through, not just this one individual person. But what it made me think of, and they started getting to it near the end, was why do they feel that they needed to do that? Like, what was it giving them beyond the thrill? Because obviously, or not obviously, but perhaps something was missing or is missing in their life. At the end, it's like, is there something that they can do? And they're going to stop. Or it sounds like they were going to stop. But that's the thing. It's like, it almost seems like there's something deeper. We've heard about like celebrities that get caught shoplifting or
Winona Ryder.
Exactly. That's the big one that I think that we kind of remember. But yeah, I think there's something deeper there that it sounds like they're willing to explore or get to. And maybe that's something that they need to talk to somebody about, maybe, a therapist or some kind of, even a friend or something.
Let me read a comment because I think this one is on point. At a high vibe level of consciousness, there is no other. If we are all part of the same energetic tapestry, stealing from someone else is effectively stealing from yourself. Your soul knows that true abundance is infinite. When you steal, you are acting from a lack mindset, believing there isn't enough for everyone. So that bad feeling is your higher self sounding an alarm because you acted in a way that denies the interconnectedness of humanity, the oneness of us all. You've created a tear in the fabric of your own integrity, and your spirit feels that disharmony immediately. Another point is that stealing creates an energetic debt. You got a result without the process. This leaves you with an object or a gain that carries the heavy energy of that theft. I thought that was pretty well said.
Very well said. Yeah, I think that nails it right there.
Yeah, the energetic debt is true because I really believe that deep down, even people who are scam artists, they know that that's disharmonious and they feel out of alignment, because the more you do those things, you might for sure get the 3D gain, the physical material gain, but there's an emotional and spiritual component that continues to accrue some sort of debt, and it sort of erodes the soul's integrity. And I think you can see this on certain people's faces. Unfortunately, some people who might be categorized as sociopaths or psychopaths, they don't seem to have any emotional response to this. And that's just a complete lack of awareness or a disconnection with their higher self. But most people, like if you've seen somebody who constantly lies for themselves or on behalf of somebody else, you see this look in their eye and their face. There's something that starts to happen. They start to shrivel up. I'm happy that really is the case, because it makes me feel like it proves there's an incentive for yourself to be more truthful and to not take from others. Again, like you said, it is one of the 10 commandments, thou shalt not steal. Golden rule. Would you want to bring home a brand new guitar and then have your neighbor break in and steal it? How terrible would you feel? Mm-hmm. What realistically should this guy do here? Because he can't go back to Target or CVS and say, hey guys, here's a check for $1,000. Over the last 5 years, I've been stealing from you slowly.
That would definitely get him in trouble more.
Oh, yeah.
A realistic thing is just that he has to change that behavior. It just sucks that somebody would have to steal or would feel that they have to. Like whether it's, I don't have enough money for food, or like just the inequality in this country, the fact that, people are going hungry. We don't have all that we feel we need just to survive sometimes. If it's really weighing on us all, there's so many different things that you could do to help your fellow man, or to help, there's food pantries. If you're taking from a grocery store, maybe there's a way that you can volunteer there.
Yeah, and I think that's really the key, making that little shift inside and then moving forward with that knowledge. By the way, I love what Bernie Sanders says about this. He says, in the richest nation in the entire world history, the fact that people go hungry every day is a shame. So I do agree that that's something that we need to solve as a society. But hey, what about just paying fair wages? What about giving, health insurance to people? Instead of fighting wars. What?
Preach. I'm with you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Fairness. It's just when greed, and this is really, we're going through a situation where greed in this country is so out of control. And when I think of it from sort of a spiritual perspective, it's like there is the concept of when you get something, you want to give it. I like to share what I have with friends, with family, with people. I don't want to hoard everything. It's not, a certain amount of money.
When you have abundance, but that's because when you have abundance, right? Yes. When people feel that they don't, when they feel that they're at a deficit and that their whole life has been at a deficit and that every angle, everything has been against them, whether true or not. It could be perceived that way. You can kind of see their point of view and why they might strike back or why they might lash out or act out the way they do.
This guy said he didn't need to steal. He said he's in a good situation. Right. It was just for the thrill. I totally give the leeway to other people. 2 quick little stories. One was that when I was in Oregon in a hotel, they give you free breakfast at the Hyatts. Mm-hmm. So we're all just sitting in there, and it was dozens and dozens of people just getting breakfast. All of a sudden, this guy who was pretty clearly homeless just walks right in, big smile on his face, walks right through and just starts getting a whole bunch of food and just piles on 2 plates and just walks right out. And we're just nobody said a word to him, not the employees, not the people. It's almost just if you come in and you're out within 3 minutes, we're not going to miss what you just took.
Yeah, it's rough. Like you said, it's a lot of people in a big country, a rich country, a lot of inequality. You might act out like that. It doesn't mean it's the right way, but I can understand it.
So years ago when I was in high school, a friend of mine went to interview for a job at McDonald's. And one of the questions that the manager asked him was, he said, if it's late at night and you're about to close the store and a group of friends of yours drive up and ask for free fries or a free soda, what would you do? So now he thinks about this as a person. He's like, well, if it's late at night and we're about to close anyway, yeah, I'd probably just hook them up. But of course, the manager was, what he was looking for was, no way, that's stealing. Because that's how they see it. But it's so funny how somebody else, when you're younger and you're in high school, you're just like, I'm going to realistically be honest and think it's late at night. My friend says, hey, yeah, can I get a free soda? Yeah, sure, whatever. We're closing anyway.
Or it's like a lot of fast food places are like donut shops, right? So it's like, what are they going to do at the end of the night? Just going to throw all those Big Macs in the trash, right? But I also get it's a business. So it's like, if that was the case, nobody would come in at dinner time. Everybody would come in at closing time. Again, we're back to mega corporations.
Yeah.
Hand over fist. Although sometimes these places are franchised out and owned. You know, the perception is it's like, oh, it's McDonald's. There's just like so much money. So it's like, what's the soda here? What's the soda there?
Obviously, they don't think it's worth that much because they're giving you free refills, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Are they still? It's been a while for me.
I think most of those kinds of places do.
They have the open drinks. Like you serve yourself. So
yeah, you serve
it's kind
yourself.
Of like the movie theaters too.
Exactly. You know, as we said, stealing is a literal frequency mismatch within your energy field. Plain and simple. You know, if you commit an act of thievery, it may result in short-term gain, material gain, but it definitely causes long-term spiritual loss. So keep that in mind next time you just want to steal a bottle of shampoo. My boyfriend changed his body type, and I'm no longer sexually attracted to him. I'm 23, female. My boyfriend is 24, male. We've been together 4 years. Recently, he's been getting into fitness and weightlifting. Our cupboard is full of protein powders. My boyfriend has seriously gained a ton of muscle. This is not saying he was out of shape before. We've both always been healthy, but the focus on weightlifting and muscle growth is new. Luckily, he's not looks maxing, which, if you don't know, is an online subculture where young men focus on maximizing physical attractiveness through extreme grooming, fitness, and sometimes surgeries. My boyfriend is still extremely sweet and generous. The only personality change is around our meals and that he insists on weighing out his portions and cooking for himself. I can understand the intensity and dedication, as I used to dance semi-professionally. This is all to say I still love him, but something about his new body turns me off. He used to be more like Loki, and now he's more like Thor. I have nothing against Thor, but I feel like there's a lot of girls that agree that Loki is objectively hotter. Our sex life has suffered. I don't think his stamina is better, and the posturing and visual of him shirtless gives me more images of stuffy Hollywood actors and fake online personalities than the sweet guy that I know. General intimacy is also on the decline, as things like cuddling aren't as comfortable for me anymore. How can I explain this to him? I'm sure he can feel me pulling away, and I don't want to hurt him. I'm wondering if his reasoning for all of this was more than simple self-improvement. I still give him compliments and pump up his self-esteem, so if it's an insecurity thing, I'm hoping it's not from me. I have no plans on breaking up, but I'd like to be physically attracted to him again.
These two are very young. And when you're young, you have room to grow. You have room to evolve. You have to learn communication. I think that is like almost in all of these, it always seems for me to go back to communication between the man and the woman at the movie theater, the roommates. If you're not communicating what you need and what you want or what you expect from your partner or your friends, then they don't know how to treat you. If you're not attracted to somebody, then you're not attracted to them anymore. There's no rule that says you need to be with this person for the rest of your life. If she's not attracted to him anymore, if this is something that he's into, then trying to make him change and not be his true self is not going to help him. It's not going to help her at all. So, yeah, again, I think they need to talk it out and see where they're at and not be afraid to go their separate ways if that's what needs to be done.
I agree. I mean, this is a delicate situation that requires a balance of radical honesty and profound kindness. So in a conscious relationship, physical attraction is just one thread in a larger tapestry, but it is an important thread, at least to some people. It is to me. If you suppress your feelings or try to deny them, you're going to end up feeling resentful. So it's always better to share them, but be kind. Instead of saying something like, I don't like the way you look anymore, you've gained too much weight, or in this case, too much muscle, or I don't find it attractive, focus on what they call I statements and also how it makes you feel and how it can relate back to them. Like, I feel more connected to you when we're both healthy. I would love for us to get back to that frequency together. What can I do to help make that happen? In this particular case, as I read, and I'll read a comment, it seems that they were both more on the in shape side. It's just that he's now packing on muscle and overly obsessing over calories and mixing protein powders into everything he eats. So she's just, I think, partially turned off by that whole obsession. And that's not just the physical thing. My gut tells me that OP's boyfriend is really just becoming more obsessed with his physical form. And that can be a good thing, but it looks like it's crossed the line a little bit here. At some point, he might urge her to either gain more muscle or lose more weight, because if he's just thinking physically, the whole physical obsession can become low vibe very fast. So that's my thought about that. Obviously I agree with you though. Communication is the biggest thing here. She has to tell him. She's kind of coming to this forum on Reddit and asking people, hey, what do you think? How do I approach the situation? I love that concept. I love that you just can kind of put it out there. And I think that most people will give you their honest, best responses. However, it's going to ultimately be up to her to make a move. So a comment here, a lot of people are framing this like you owe him attraction because he improved himself. But improvement is subjective. If you fell in love with Loki energy and now you're dating Thor energy, that's a vibe shift. And vibe shifts matter in long-term relationships more than people think. So there's an update where she said, I got tipped off about the intention of my boyfriend proposing to me right after graduation. And now I suspect he's doing this to look as good as possible for that upcoming milestone.
Again, is he doing it to look good for her? Is he doing it to look good for him? Is he doing it to look good for the gram? It's like, a couple different things. It could be all of them. It could be none of them. But yes, I mean, I guess the intention behind it too. Sometimes these things can get dangerous if you push too far or if you.
I saw this comment. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's kind of long, but basically what they were saying is it's how people start perceiving the other person's physical transformation and what it means to them. So it kind of is like, if I'm with someone who is blank, that must mean that they are blank, which must mean that I am blank. So it's like a lot of times we project into the situation.
He's working out. He looks great. And now I'm just a piece of garbage now, or I'm just like, it makes me feel like that because I don't have that body type, or I'm not, and then I'm sure there might be thoughts of like, oh, if he's, getting buff, he's getting in shape. Is he now going to look for somebody that's buffer and in shape and in closer to his body type? Is that what he's into? Like I said, hopefully they can talk through it and figure it out. And if not, that's okay.
Such is life. We do the best we can to communicate, try and create harmony and synergy. And if it doesn't work, hey, it's okay. I'm going to read 3 short Reddit stories. 2 of them are 100% true. So which one is false? Story number 1. 3 cousins of mine who are birth siblings were adopted by my aunt and uncle 20 years ago. The oldest boy was 6 at the time, and the 2 younger sisters were 4. They had just moved into my aunt and uncle's house, and my aunt wanted to introduce them to some kids in the neighborhood, specifically the Cook family down the street. So they set up a dinner date and put it on the calendar. The next night, the oldest boy, who is just learning how to read, orders his sisters to pack their toys and sneak out of the house. My aunt wakes up and catches them. She asks why they're leaving. The boy responds, because the calendar says, cook kids for dinner. I can't imagine the fear 6-year-old me would have felt if my new mom had written that on the calendar. That was story 1.
Okay.
Story 2. Story number 2. When my best friend came out to me, before I could say anything, I projectile vomited. Not once, but twice. Right after she said the words, "I'm gay." Luckily, it didn't land on her, but it was pretty messy. She assumed this was me showing my disapproval and ran out of my house crying. After going to the doctor and learning that I had a severe stomach virus, I took meds and recovered within a few days. I called my best friend and explained to her that I was totally fine with her being gay and that I was just sick. I even showed her my meds. 2 years later, we're still best friends, and now we love to laugh about my projectile vomiting. Story 3. When I worked at the Salvation Army, we had a regular called Teresa, a bearded man who wore pink tights and would come in every day to see if we have Barbie dolls. One day he came in very anxiously and asked for a razor. I told him we didn't have one, and he started twitching and saying, "I need a razor. Stop hiding them." When I tried to direct him to another store, he exploded and said, "I am a woman. This beard on my face is a disease. I need to get it off right now." At this point, an elderly woman ran over and talked to him in Italian. He finally calmed down and left. The following week, he returned to the store and apologized that he was off his meds, which is why he seemed to be hallucinating. So, which of those 3 stories do you think is the not real one?
Yeah. First blush is the cook kids for me is the false one. The woman speaking Italian to him in the in the thing was kind of like a little like, that seemed like but also it seemed specific, which, sometimes specificity can lean towards truth. So you have the cook kids, you got the projectile vomiting, which she said that she was sick. So, I mean, at first I did think that one because that's like, I don't know, somebody that would just projectile vomit over hearing something like that, especially with a friend, and especially someone coming out. It's so common these days. It's not like, it doesn't happen anymore or that it's like so in the closet, I feel. Third one seems, for me in game theory and gamesmanship, it seems like that one seems so crazy that it couldn't be true, which means it's true. So for me, it's the 6-year-old kid seeing the cook kids for dinner and seeing that, like the turn of phrase or the word. I feel like, I don't know, for me, that's, I would say that's the false one.
Interesting to watch you work through this. Because like you said, sometimes when you're trying to tell a story or a lie, you want to be extra specific about details. And the problem is sometimes when you go too specific, it becomes an obvious lie. Mm-hmm. When you're like, oh, it was a Thursday and I think that was the day it rained. You just start getting into too many items. So it's a really good call on that one. But I will just tell you this, that third one allegedly is true, the one with the bearded man. So that one, even though it's specific, and I agree that that's one of the big suspicious ones, that one apparently is true. Again,
it was the most colorful, I think, of the 3. So that's why I was like, you want to throw one in that's going to throw people off.
Just for the record, the entire post of all 3 stories could be what they call karma farming, which is when people post stories or comments just so they will get voted up, which helps their Reddit cred.
Engagement farming, karma farming, rage baiting.
According to them, the one that's false is the vomiting story. Even though the cook thing sounds like it just is like a joke, a punchline waiting to happen, that one the guy went out of his way to say, this is absolutely true. I know it's going to sound like a fake story, but this actually happened to my cousins. And he kind of goes on and on.
It seemed very mundane to me. That's why it seemed kind of like... But yes, so projectile vomiting is the false one.
Yes.
I mean, the timing of that too. That's why, yes. Oh, yeah.
But as a screenwriter, like you're looking for those moments to stitch together that seem like there's truth. You want to get people to buy into the premise, to really immerse themselves in the reality that you're creating as a writer. So you're right that specific details add depth to a story and believability to a story. But yet, like I said, when you're telling a lie, sometimes too many details add up and it's like...
It's the old, you're trying too hard.
Their whole point was they were trying to, indicate the things that we were talking about. Like when you have too many details, does that tend to lean toward a lie? When you have timing details, like the moment this happened, or when you have something that seems like too comedic, like a setup, Is that what's going to convince you? And in this particular case, any one of those things could have been the thing. It just, according to them, the one that wasn't true was the timing issue. It's just, that's why I thought it'd be funny to play that game with you.
It was very fun and interesting to kind of hear the details and then like you said, process them through my lens or my point of view.
Right?
Of,
yeah.
like, what just seemed to stand out or what just seemed to be.
And you did a good job.
Even though I got it wrong, thank you.
Has anyone experienced a red dimension? Something happened a couple of years ago and I cannot get it off my mind. I was in my room and had laid down to go to sleep. I closed my eyes for a bit, and then when I opened them, I was still in my room, but it was different. Everything was flipped. The whole layout of the house, not upside down, but reversed. The weirdest part was the moonlight shining in my room was an eerie dark red. I wasn't exactly scared, just confused. I walked into the bathroom and same thing. The layout was flipped and there was a strange red light. I started feeling uneasy with a sense of dread, so I laid back down and closed my eyes. When I opened them a few minutes later, everything was back to normal. By the way, I was not on drugs or drinking. I've never experienced anything like this before or since. The whole experience stays in the back of my mind as if there was a message someone or something was trying to send me.
We hear different stories and different versions of paranormal or high strangeness. I mean, this is another example of it. There's this guy on YouTube, I can't remember his name, but he's been doing experiments with lasers and DMT where you shine the laser on the wall, and if you take, and this is where I'm confused because I don't think it's like a heroic dose of DMT, but I think it's just enough to kind of alter your state a little bit. When they look into this laser that's shined on the wall, they can see what look to be, for lack of a better word, the symbols that are in the matrix. And what they're seeing is dimensionality. They're seeing these symbols not flat like projected, but like embedded, like you can, like they have dimension and shape behind them. And I mean, it's just an experiment that this guy is doing and that other people have gone in and have seen the same thing. So unlike a dream or unlike drugs where you might get two people with different experiences or outcomes or where they might have ended up in whatever realm that they traveled to, people are consistently seeing the same shapes, symbols, and images, which, they are concluding or at least hypothesizing that this is the code, this is the matrix code that makes up our simulation or our world. When we go to sleep and we dream, it's like we know very little about the mechanisms of what consciousness, unconsciousness, subconsciousness, dreams, the nature of reality. So, I mean, to have this experience, what a cool experience to have. Probably freaked him out. I mean, yes, because what do you do when you come out of that? Like, what do you do with that?
This type of dream is a classic glitch in the matrix or liminal space experience. Mm-hmm. And it's unsettling because it takes place where you should feel the safest, which is at home. Makes it mathematically and visually seem wrong, like when you have a dream like that. But here are two vibe ways to interpret this eerie mirrored reality. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. The first one is, in dream symbology, your house represents your soul or your current life structure. When the layout is flipped, it suggests that your external life and your internal values are currently out of alignment. The flipped house is a visual metaphor for feeling like you are living someone else's life or moving in the wrong direction. The eerie red light often represents a stop signal from your subconscious, a warning that the path you are currently on is creating a sense of dread because it's not authentically yours. So instead of fearing the dread, look at it as a spiritual guardrail. Your subconscious is using a high contrast red alert to get your attention so you can flip your perspective back to what feels right side up.
That sounded great. Yeah.
Yeah, these are really cool, right?
I mean, the dream logic, that's what's so great, the symbology.
So the second one is called crossing the threshold of change. Red is a color of high energy, passion, and survival. In a dream, A pervasive red light can signify that you are standing on the threshold of a major transformation that feels threatening to your ego. Dread is often just unprocessed excitement or the fear of the unknown. The fact that the house is mirrored suggests you are entering a new reality where the old rules don't apply. Seeing your world flipped can mean you are being asked to look at the situation from the exact opposite perspective of how you currently see it.
Another response that seems to lead back that something is, amiss in the person's life.
Yeah, when I have dreams that are very vivid, I will often immediately share them just to get another perspective and to try and see. And there are books that you can read and kind of interpret, and they all mean something. But I think it is fascinating because we don't really know what all this is. The argument for simulation theory is you're having this experience and someone's tweaking, whatever code or whatever interface is necessary to update your software so the experience continues. Whatever it is, we don't know. It's fascinating. What you just shared was fascinating, especially because I think the signs of, like, for example, intelligent design, those signs are everywhere, like Fibonacci sequence. There's visual references that we have that show that there is a designer. Whether one believes in God, I do believe there is creative intelligence. This didn't just happen. This wasn't a projectile vomit. This was something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fascinating because I don't think we could ever fully know. We may get glimpses. We may even get super strong feelings. I've had both, but until it ends and your energy continues, you won't really know.
Maybe there will be some kind of knowledge that is gained at that point. I mean, maybe that's what makes it this life so beautiful.
There's this theory called the Earth Life Experience. It's from the Monroe Institute. And the concept is that as a soul, as an eternal soul, we choose to come to Earth to experience contrast and conflict so that we can grow as a soul, lean more towards good than bad. And one of the key agreements in order to enter this experience is that you have to agree that you have to forget
it all, right? Yes.
You have to forget
you have
what
to come
truth
in fresh.
Come in fresh. And they even talk about how they say, look, souls out there are raving about how much growth they experience on Earth. But they also caution you that it is going to be a challenge. That if you, for example, I believe this, if you get caught in the material world and you're just all about gains and you're selfish, you're going to kind of get trapped at the bottom. And you may be very successful, but if you don't understand there's more to it than that, then you're just stuck here, maybe even for multiple lifetimes or multiple experiences. It's like you get out and they're like, well, you can't leave yet because you didn't graduate. Like, oh man, I have to go back. Yeah, you have to go back. Just keep this in mind. Your goal is this. So I just think when, people are all about money and power, they're sort of chaining themselves to the physical and the material. And it's that much harder for them to get out. It's that whole, something about it's easier to pass a camel through the eye of a needle than it is for a rich man to go to heaven.
It's very interesting to think about, especially I like the Earth as the training ground, I guess, for your higher self. It's interesting, though, the main contract is that you have to forget what you've just learned when you came out this side to go back. The stories of, young kids, I'm sure you've heard some of these stories of young kids who remember that they were World War II pilots. When they're very young, they can have these memories of different people or different places. And then sometimes these people or places can be, verified, or as far as yes, this person did exist. How would this 4-year-old know this name and know that he flew planes? And then we looked this up and he was a World War II pilot. Or there's many stories like that, which are very interesting. We're either programmed with certain beliefs from our parents or from society or when we're born. They're very sometimes difficult to wrestle with and kind of think about. But I think it's valuable to do it in order to grow and to evolve. And hopefully the next trip is good. And then what happens after that? I mean, that's what's so great. It's all speculation and it's all just kind of theory. But what works for you and what allows you to live your life, I guess, this life, the fullest, if that doesn't go on, or if we don't get recycled back in, or if we are, shifted to another dimension.
I love the idea that there might be a way to blur lines, remember things from a past life, see into another dimension. You know, like we talk about Skinwalker Ranch, where there's clearly something going on there, whether it's a portal or the veil is thin between our world and another. I do think that that's kind of part of the design. I think that we all love a good mystery, because imagine if like the very first thing you tell, oh, here's how the pyramids were built, here's an instruction, here's all this history, and it was 100% accurate. You'd be like, oh, okay.
Oh, that one I want to know. No speculation on that one. Tell me the answers. How? Who? When?
Why? Was it a power
Why,
plant?
the big one. Yeah, that's exactly right.
I agree with you. There are certain mysteries like the pyramids and why there's so many megalithic building happening all around the world at the same time from different cultures. What is the primary influence? Is it alien? Is it some other ancient civilization of humanity that we just haven't discovered or rediscovered? It's all fascinating.
It's the mystery. If we knew exactly what our life was laid out from beginning to end.
Well, they say, right, that I never remember who said this. I think it's an ancient Chinese proverb. When you want to curse someone, you say, may all of your greatest dreams come true all at once. If you have everything you ever wanted, then you have nothing to strive for. There's no reason to continue. You know, that's how people, I always say, become gluttonous and disconnected from humanity. You know, if you just have all the wealth in the world, like, hey, this looks like a nice house, I'll just buy it. This looks like, let's order this rare food. Oh, yeah. Like, it doesn't matter to you. You lose appreciation for it. And if you get everything you ever wanted, then what reason do you have to keep living from a selfish point of view? From an altruistic point of view, that would be wonderful. You can say, wow, I have everything I want. Now I want to share this with other people.
Hopefully we can be living our best life and be living in peace, harmony, and love, and not be a trillionaire or be getting everything that materialistically that we might want.
I always say when you have real love and real harmony in your life and a sense of adventure, you know, those things that you want to, something to look forward to, something to love. What was the other one, Irish? Something to do. When you have those three things in place and you have a real, you know, zest for life, you really are like a trillionaire, cosmically speaking.
You're fulfilled, and you can go to a movie theater and sit quietly and enjoy it. And if somebody has something to say to you, you can absorb it. And instead of knee-jerk reaction, you can kind of take that in and maybe see from their side and know that, you know what, I'm fulfilled. So there's nothing that can touch me, nothing you can say that can harm me.
Love that.
I got it all, baby.
I'm just going to read you the scientific possible explanation for this. The cornea bends light as it enters the eye, and under certain conditions can create upside down or flipped images. If this happens, even if it's for a microsecond, your brain will register that your surroundings have reversed or flipped, when in fact, the landscape hasn't changed at all. It's just your perception of it has been altered temporarily.
Well, I mean, no, that's very interesting, though, of perception, I guess, and just the fact that I didn't know that if the light hit your cornea a certain way. As someone who gets migraines and also has sometimes problems with lights or flashing lights, the way that eyes take in information, photons, whatever, and then transmit that signal to the brain, and how sometimes those signals could be interrupted or corrupted or changed or something. It's very interesting, yeah.
It is interesting, but I'm not sure if it's applicable here because he has this story where he went to sleep. He kind of woke up. He didn't say if this as he woke up, was it a dream? Was it a waking astral projection? He didn't specify, but he woke up, looked around.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, the first question is like, okay, what drugs were you on? The second question is, were you sleeping? And so was it a dream? So it's like, yeah, dreams can seem so very real. And that's what's hard for the outside observers because it's their subjective reality. It's their dream or their experience that they had. I like the dream interpretation. I like the symbology and the scientific reason, just trying to hunt down. I mean, again, some of the questions that we probably won't have an answer to. And maybe this dream or this vision or this reality causes this person to, I don't know, pursue something else or pursue this or get into something. Maybe that's what their life needs right now. So maybe it was like some kind of signpost from the beyond or from Earth or the universe or God or however you want to categorize it to force or push this person into another frequency or another vibration or another just way of thinking, maybe.
I love that. Are humans becoming more plastic than ever? Researchers at the University of New Mexico School of Medicine published autopsy findings that should stop every person reading this mid-breath. Human brain tissue samples collected from 2016 to 2024 show a 50-fold increase in microplastic concentration over that period, with the most recent samples containing approximately 7 micrograms of plastic per gram of brain tissue, equivalent to a plastic teaspoon lodged inside every human brain currently alive on Earth. More disturbing, samples from dementia patients contained concentrations 10 times higher than cognitively normal controls of the same age. The plastic inside you is not inert. It is interacting with your neurons. A neurological mechanism is being actively mapped. Microplastics in brain tissue appear to accumulate preferentially in the brain's immune cells, where they trigger chronic inflammatory signals that disrupt the synaptic pruning and clearance functions those cells normally perform. This inflammatory cascade mirrors at a cellular level the early pathology seen in Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. The plastics aren't just present, they're interfering with the brain's maintenance systems in precisely the ways that produce neurodegeneration. The source of brain microplastics is your entire modern environment: drinking water, food packaging, synthetic clothing fibers, airborne particles from tire wear, and even bottled water, which contains on average 240,000 nanoplastic particles per liter. A human breathing normal urban air inhales 74,000 microplastic particles per day. There is currently no established way to remove them from tissue once deposited. The University of New Mexico team is now working with the EPA and the FDA to fast-track research into reduction of exposure sources. The generation of children born after 2010 who have lived their entire lives in peak microplastic exposure will be the test case for what chronic neurological microplastic accumulation produces over decades.
Oh, man. Oh, it's horrible. I mean, it's absolutely horrible.
I mean, there was a generation that dealt with smog. There's generations that dealt with
lead paint.
Yeah. Now we have microplastics.
Now it's plastics. And I mean, those generations that are now lead and smog and now plastics, I mean, they're adding them all up inside their body. So, I mean, no wonder people are getting Alzheimer's, at alarming rates, or dementia, or any of the diseases or ailments that any number of the pharmaceutical companies are running commercials for on the TV at any one moment in time. So, I mean, it just seems like so much. And that's the thing. I thought what was interesting, what you said was like, because I've heard these stories before, and sometimes it's like a credit card size worth of plastic or whatever it is in your body. And when you hear that, or when I hear that, it's just like, oh, so there's just like, a hunk of plastic in my heel or in my thigh or something like that. And you just think, oh, it's just a hunk of plastic. And you're like, whatever. Not that it's like in your brain, that it's intercepting neurons or it's interfering with, your body's chemistry. I think the things that usually are the most maddening is when you don't have control over something and it's somebody else, it's a governmental regulation agency.
When you're talking about this EPA and this FDA, I don't have a lot of faith because they've been gutting both of those organizations. But when you talk about like a university like New Mexico trying to do the experiments and really conduct this research, I do have hope that when the facts get out there to the masses, there will hopefully be some sort of cascade of, you can no longer deny the impacts of such behaviors. And by the way, when I first read you the title of this about humans becoming more plastic, I thought you might be thinking in your mind, or I would have thought that maybe I was talking about plastic surgery, which is probably also on the rise, However, the crazy thing is, plastic surgery is a choice. This is not a choice.
Yes.
We're not choosing to put
It's
that
forced
kind of
upon
stuff.
us.
Yeah. I mean, we are all becoming more plastic every day. And it's a tragedy because it's proof positive that we're out of sync with our environment and each other. I believe that we're supposed to be caretakers of this planet and to look out for each other. And right now we're failing miserably as a species, but corporations and their greed, the irresponsible side of them, could be looked at as, well, we're trying to feed the people. We're trying to make it so everybody can get something. These food systems, big food, big pharma, it's all trying to create a pipeline to get to people. But that's the point. Wouldn't we be better off if we had smaller communities that was able to tap into natural energy, whether it's Tesla coils or solar?
Just energy vortexes in like New Mexico or Santa Fe or, ley lines.
Yeah, so the bottom line is that, it does unfortunately reveal that we are out of sync and with ourselves and with the environment. Because, I shudder to think about all the plastic waste that's being dumped. And if you light it on fires, it's also a bad thing. It's terrible for the air. LA, Los Angeles, California, years ago, I met this guy at a meditation group, and he told me that he used to fly helicopters for the news. And he would have 2 shifts. He would do like the morning, and then they'd come back, go to lunch, and then he'd do like the afternoon. And he said that in between those shifts, before he could take his lunch break, he had to clean off this thick of smog that had accumulated on the propellers. He had to clean that off because otherwise it was too heavy to fly for the second half of the day. That's how bad smog was. You'd look out and you'd see, he said, like just this brown, thick layer. So because of rule changes over the years, I'm happy to say that it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be.
Well, you have to get a smog check now on your car, right? They put things in place, I guess, to curtail the rampant smog that was being emitted out into the air.
But the point is that there's progress, that these kinds of things have made it a difference. It has made a positive impact. So it's a question of when and if, hopefully when, the rest of the country and the rest of the world will see that there's negative impacts on people and make the change.
Sometimes the genie's out of the bottle or the toothpaste out of the tube, and it often is you're going to have to give something up for this greater good or for change to happen.
And again, here's the thing. I think the Earth life experience we were talking about earlier, I don't know that we're ever meant to solve every problem. I just think if you just try to live the best life you can, try and create harmony, try and empower others and inspire them instead of kick them, that's sort of what you want to do. That's the whole point of this. But try to take steps to be more responsible.
I mean, it'll be very interesting. I mean, we live in a very interesting time. We're on the precipice of AI. It could be our savior or it could be our downfall.
When you throw in the dependence on AI, which is most likely inevitable at this point, do you believe that along with microplastics and lead and everything else, do you believe that humans one day will lose the ability to think clearly?
Yes. I mean, I guess if like your brain is corrupted so much with plastics and pollution, the one thing that we have are our thoughts and our brains. I guess those could be hijacked or taken away. You want to put a chip in somebody's brain, or like we were saying, if there's too much microplastics or something, could that take away? I guess time will tell.
We can only focus on being the best version of ourselves. So that's what I'm going to continue doing.
At this point right now. Yes. Bingo.
Good place to end this. So thank you so much for joining me again today, Eric. This has been super fascinating as always. Before we peace out, is there anything you'd like to add? Any final words of wisdom? Anything you're promoting? Anything?
It's just the message of, I guess a Ringo Starr. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Love that. If you're watching this on YouTube, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment letting me know your thoughts on today's stories. Remember, every challenge is an opportunity. Until next time, namaste.
It's always the open mouth, right?
Yeah.
It's always up.
You did that like, look, I got a spoon in my head?
A teaspoon in your head, yeah.